Welcome to ServiceNow Integration Hub demo. Today I'm going to show you the SAP ECC Spoke. The integration we are going to do is to integrate between ServiceNow, the service catalog. You can name it as create a new purchase order from ServiceNow in the catalog item. And then through the ServiceNow SAP ECC Spoke, you will create the PO or the purchase order in SAP ECC. And then in the SAP ECC, some financial operation analysts or the account payable and specialists can create an invoice inside SAP ECC. And then once that invoice is created through our ServiceNow SAP ECC Spoke and Flow Designer, is able to detect the newly created invoices and pull back from SAP into ServiceNow. And that's the whole round trip integration I'm going to showcase you today. And in addition, I'm going to show you how to extend SAP ECC Spoke so that you can support more BAPIs than what is available right outside the box. And it's very easy to do. And I'm going to show you how to do it. Before we jump into the scenario, let me give you a very quick intro of how this SAP ECC Spoke is going to work. So first of all, this SAP ECC Spoke is actually supporting on the ECC 6 and then EHP 8. There will be some of the versions beforehand, let's say like EHP 7 or ECC 4.0 or whatnot. So this Spoke can be or possibly compatible with the previous versions or some other ECC version of it. But to give your customer the right expectation is that this SAP ECC Spoke only tested against the ECC 6 and EHP 8 package. So be precautious if you are selling this SAP ECC Spoke to some other version that the customer is supporting on. We may extend the support to EHP 7, which means we're going to test against and certify against the EHP 7 later down the road. But as of today, 2020, we only support the EHP 8 version of it. As you know, SAP ECC is an on-prem software, which means it's going to be behind the firewall of the customer network, which means we're going to have a mid server to connect between the ServiceNow, which is usually in a public cloud, and then connect into behind the firewall SAP ECC system. So that's how the diagram going to work. We have the ServiceNow instance right here with the Spoke installed. And we're going to configure the mid server and connect into the SAP through our SAP ECC Spoke. We support the RFC right now, which means the BAPI synchronous call into a SAP ECC system. And then you will reply back with some response messages, and you will write back into the associated table or custom table per your choice in ServiceNow. So that's how the round trip is going to be done through the synchronous integration with BAPI of SAP. Okay, so let's jump into the demo real quick, and let me show you the flow I configure right here. So this is the create PO. Right now, I'm just gonna use a very quick and dirty method to just test against this Spoke. So right now, we have a list of actions available out of the box. Create PO is one of the example. What happens is once I clicked on the create PO, you will fetch behind the scene and with some of the metadata introspection, which we use the dynamic template to do so. Now, of course, we assume some of the required fields right here will be pre-fetched or pre-synced on, let's say, like a batch process by a customer to have the foundational master data already synced between SAP and ServiceNow. And so we're not going to cover this in this demo, but there's an assumption that these data will be pre-configured and up to date between ServiceNow and between SAP and ServiceNow. So we do also have like another actions that can regularly pull in the list of company code from SAP to ServiceNow, and you can schedule that on a regular basis, so that hey, in the service catalog of in ServiceNow, you have that right values to be passed into for this subflow to or flow to work. Okay. So we have company code, we have the purchase stock type, which is MB or some other values. These are the users right here, item number, vendors. So all these things will need to be populated before you actually hit the SAP endpoint. Okay. So I'm going to scroll through this slowly so you know, hey, if you have your own instance to create your POC on, you know where to or what kind of value that you need to enter. And this is also the meat of the whole call, PO items, which can be part of your catalog item setup in ServiceNow, and then you can parse in those catalog variables into here. For example, PO item number, some short text, the associated plan and storage location, material group, how many do they want to order, what kind of unit it is. Okay. So these are all blank. As you can see, SAP is a huge system and always come with like a very huge payload. It's expected. And just fill out the one that are necessary or per your company use cases or the customer use cases and do the POC on. So these are all the fields I created that can be connected and create a new PO in our SAP ECC system internally. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so let me test this one. Run the test, and it will take a while to run this flow. And of course, you can always click on this run test in the background. There's a new feature available in the Integration Hub platform. And once you click on that one and run it, then you can do some other things. Right now, I just didn't click that. It's not too bad. You can still show up things right here, still in progress. Let's see how they run. So what happens is right now it's gonna creating a new PO behind the scene, and you should have a new PO number that we can fetch on. So yep, there you go. A new PO has been created. Of course, in your POC or in your demo, you can further, hey, from this flow, I can further update the custom record of the catalog or whatnot with that PO number as a correlation ID or reference ID, so that further on with your next steps of the workflow, you can retrieve back the value or the payload from SAP and further build up more your logic based on the PO number that was generated from SAP. Okay. So that's the PO right here. And let's hop into SAP and check it out. So this is our SAP instance. And of course, depending on how you configure the user manual, some of them will be, hey, it's right there for you to get your PO and view it. But right here in our internal instance, it doesn't configure that way. So we're gonna use something called transaction code in SAP. You can look it up by the transaction code online from Google or something like that. But I've compiled a list of some handful PO or the transaction list that can retrieve the POs. Yes, the SAP talks like this. It's not straightforward. It's like back in the 70s or 80s, but that's okay. It's a very robust system. You will still see SAP ECC or become like a HANA when you retire. Because like financial operation, they love SAP ECC. It's gonna be here to stay. So get used to it, and then let's learn how to navigate around with it. To view a list of POs, one thing we can do is either by ME80FN or ME23N. So what you can do is right here, you can type in ME80FN. And then you can find the PO number that is just created. For example, right here. And then you can click here. to view the newly created PO. Okay, so let's double click on it and see if we can see more information. As you can see, we just created from ServiceNow to SAP. That's an iPad that we just created. Right, today's 19. Remember, the European and many other parts in the world, they move the date first and then the month. So just be aware of that. And we have all this information right here. So what we're gonna do next is we can, hey, let's create the invoice in SAP. To create an invoice in SAP, you can do a mural right here. One cool trick is that, hey, if you're already in some other transaction code transactions, and you want to, let's say I want to create a invoice, right, from this page, you have two ways to do it. One is you move all the way up back to the home page and then type in MIRO in this case, or you can have a quick shortcut is like /n, and then your transaction code right here. So I'm gonna do right here like this way, and now let's create a new invoice in SAP. So what happened is you can click on the invoice day. I always use the day before, the 1 business day before, right here, and then let's say it's $1 right here. Okay. Yeah, and it also requires a very particular order to entry, at least for this instance. Some of them may not need, but then this one may need. Okay, let's see, tax. Right here you can enter the nope. Okay, so here we go. Now we have this number right here, and then we could create right here. Let's give it a shot and see if we can create a new PO out of this. Click on the post button right here. And now we are created. So remember, it's x64. That is what we are going to do. So now a invoice has been created in SAP, and it's time to retrieve it back from SAP into ServiceNow. And we do have like an out-of-the-box flow just to detect the same or detect the delta of the list of invoices enter between the last successful runtime and the time you trigger this integration. So let's give it a shot on pulling back the invoice from SAP back to ServiceNow. Okay, good. It's been ran. Awesome. So for my last successful runtime, so last time we ran is about maybe a couple of weeks ago, and with today, so about 2 weeks of invoices from my last demo. So let's see what we have right here. This is the first one. Actually, this one will be like much better invoices to see if I can. So this is 853 x64, so you most likely the last one. Let's hop into the 6th one and click on this one. Oh, this, wait, hold on. Oh, they have like the whole list already. So let me scroll down to the last one. Yep, there you go. The x64 is now being pulled back in ServiceNow. Okay, so that's good. And as you can see from this flow, we can further extend it to, right, let's say now you write the invoice into some kind of like a custom table right here, or you can further do whatever action that you like to continue your flow logic per your POC or per your customer requirements. We have a lot of spokes, 100 spokes out there now, and you can do a lot of things beyond this SAP ECC spoke. And let me show you the list of actions that currently have in SAP ECC. So we have the lookup actions, material groups, journal entry, the usual suspects, the popular ones. Metadata retrieval that, hey, we can do the introspection with dynamic templates, so that many of the drop down fields you don't have to prefetch it, but you can have dynamically retrieve it when you have this action going. And procurement, the usual suspect as well. And let me talk about a little bit of the execute RFC. Execute RFC is like a very generic record. It's like a record management. You can think that way, and it's pretty extensible. And I'm gonna show you what happens right there. Before we jump into that, so that concludes this scenario. We conclude that, hey, we can create a PO right here, create an invoice in SAP, and then pull it back into ServiceNow. So the round trip has been shown with this demo. And now let me show you how to extend this spoke. Let me see the PO demo. This is the execute RFC right here. When you pull in this actions, what happened is this action will retrieve the list of BAPI that is stated that it needs to be retrieved behind the scene. So right now, out of the box, I think we have a handful of out of the box BAPI. For example, let's say fixed asset get details, get cost center, key balances, and things like that. Those are all out of the box. But now let's say, hey, I want to, let's say, create a PR create or get PO details. Those are not out of the box, actually. So what you have to do is to go back to here on the regular platform page. And then you go to SAP ECC. Then you can see the list of actions. Right now, the list of BAPI that will be retrieved from this RFC dropdown. Okay. And from here, you can find out the list of BAPIs that is available. You can go to this SAP system, go to BAPI, and the customer will tell you, hey, what kind of BAPI you need. It's not expected that, hey, any person will know, hey, what BAPI do I need? How can I fill out this request and response message format? They will most likely need a SAP domain expert to kind of help them out in the first run on how to get this BAPI going. And once you know the name of it, of the BAPI that you want to connect into, then just extend this spoke is very easily. You just enter the name right here, which I'm going to show you right now. So for this one, it's most likely the materials management. This pretty popular one. And then you have a purchasing and PR, which is like the get the purchase order. And for the one I'm going to show you is the get PO, which is the get details right here. And what you can do is click on here, and that's the BAPI name that you need to put in. Okay, so what you have to do is Control-C, copy it, and create a new. You can type in the same name right here, and then you pick the module that you just picked from SAP. For example, in this get PO is a materials management, and you will just select that, click submit, And voila, there you go. There will be your new BAPI extension for your spoke that you can do. Since I already done it already, I don't want to mess up my environment. And I'm gonna show you this one right here. So once you get that one, the new BAPI name will be showing up. So beforehand, the dropdown will not have the PO get details one. But after you added this one and then refresh the screen, then you will see this new value will show up in the PO get details right here. And once you have that, then you know, hey, what kind of value I need, and you will introspect, hey, what are all the available fields that I need to put in to call this the get details of the PO. And one of the very important one is the purchase document right here, and we put it for the last demo I had. Let's see what is the latest one we have. Is it 45139 blah blah blah. So we can do the same thing right here. Done, and then we can click on the retrieve to get the latest PO details from SAP back to ServiceNow. So that's one example. Sometimes, depending on the customer direction of the flow, sometimes they just say want to create a PO within SAP, and then once a invoice back, then you put it in ServiceNow. Sometimes they want to create in ServiceNow. So we don't limit customers to a very specific direction to support the integration. It's very flexible. Depending on different entry points, this flow designer can do whatever that customer is needed to satisfy their requirements. So now, both way we support it. The get PO, we have this completed. You can see, hey, now I can see the PO item. The description is Apple iPad, we just created, and then plan is 1,000 from that execution. And this one is the actual SAP payload. We render that from SAP. We further grab the right data and then write it into the ServiceNow table, or in this case, it's a log table that we display. Okay. So that is the core meat of this whole SAP round trip demo. Let me show you any other things I want to show you. Yeah, that's about it. One last thing I'd like to maybe mention is the invoice data. Hey, we keep track of like the list of invoice data that we retrieved from the last demo, and you can see right here. So if you want to extend this flow or this SAP spoke, you feel free to create a different kind of custom table, and then you can just write any data from SAP back into ServiceNow. Okay, yep. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Integration Hub team, and we are here to help. Thanks for your time. Take care.